Welcome to Swala Nyeti, the law podcast that pairs a layman and a lawyer to answer your legal questions of the day. Swala Nyeti is sponsored by the law firm of Kigwata and Company Advocates and is intended for educational purposes only.
This is episode 4. Hi Gashao, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you, Akili. How are you doing today?
Oh, I am excellent and excited about today's episode. Tell me, what are we discussing today?
Today's question is in the area of inheritance, and it's from a gentleman known as Onyango. This is what he wrote to us. Hello, my name is Onyango. I run a wholesale shop and supply several shops and supermarkets in my area. One of the supermarkets I supply was run by a man who I learnt last week had sadly passed away. Just before he died, he had taken goods on credit worth 1 million shillings. I have tried to visit and speak with the family about this, but they do not seem keen to pay back. My question therefore is, can I recover my loan after the person I lent to dies?
So Gashao, this seems a case of someone who is a creditor who lent goods to a shop and the owner of this shop has now died. How do you think it could be resolved?
First of all, pole to Onyango. Second, I think this situation is not that bad. And I'll tell you why. I have seen people who have taken huge loans with no intention to pay just before they die. They leave a big mess for their relatives who have to borrow and fundraise just to pay off the loan, let alone the medical and funeral expenses. In Onyango's case, the supermarket owner looks like he was in actual business. Therefore, at least Onyango can go to the supermarket, pick items of similar value, and pay himself back. What do you think, Wakili?
The only thing I can agree with you there is to say pole to Onyango. But recovering a debt from a deceased person, the way you've mentioned, unfortunately, that can't work. Let me explain. The most important thing you need to keep in mind is that when someone dies, there is a legal process on how to manage their estate. And when I speak of estate, this includes both their assets and their liabilities.
By liabilities, you mean their debts, right?
Yes, liabilities here include the debts of the deceased person.
Okay, then since it's the owner who died and not the supermarket, where is the issue? Onyango can just go and pick his goods.
First of all, let's assume that the person who died, the deceased, owned the supermarket as a sole proprietor and not as a company.
Why is that important? What would have happened if you owned it as a company?
A supermarket which is owned by a company is a separate legal person from the owner. The company's debts are not the owner's debts. But in this case, as we are assuming, then the supermarket's debts are the owner's debts. Then the debts of the supermarket would be included in the estate. And for the family of the supermarket owner to pay these debts, they would first need to get authority from the court. So before anything is done, they need authority from the court. And this authority is in the form of a document called a grant.
And if the family then does not apply for this authority?
Technically, Onyango as a creditor can also apply for this authority, this grant, but he's very low in the order of who qualifies to get a grant. In fact, he would only qualify if the spouse, the blood relatives, and the public trustee does not apply for the grant. A better option is for Onyango to take out a citation against the spouse or close relatives within 3 months of the death of the supermarket owner. A citation is a document that can compel the family to take out the grant. So this is done in court, and by citing the close relatives or the spouse, they are compelled to take out the grant.
I see. What if the family goes to get this authority, this grant as you call it, but then they lie by saying that the supermarket had no debts and therefore they do not owe Onyango or anyone any money? What then?
Well, this would cause problems for them because the law requires that all debts be paid before any property is distributed to beneficiaries. So when someone dies, first thing is to pay the debts. And any person who is a creditor, like Onyango, who feels that his debts have not been captured in the grant, is allowed to make a claim to the personal representative. the person who now has taken out the grant. So if the personal representative has notice of his claim, then he must pay the debt. And if this creditor is not paid, he can legally compel any person who has received property from the estate to refund this money to the estate or to refund the property to the estate until the creditor's debts are paid in full to the extent of property which is available.
With interest?
No. No interest is payable apart from any interest that already existed at the time of the death.
I always thought that if someone dies, you say goodbye to any money they owed you. It seems, though, that by law, the creditors get first priority to the assets left when someone dies. How should Onyango proceed then?
When a person is alive, he or she pays their debts. When they are dead, it is their estate that pays their debts. If this estate can pay Onyango's debts, then not only should it must before it distributes any property to anyone else. Onyango needs to make sure he puts in his claim with a personal representative who takes out a grant to ensure that his debts are paid. And if no one takes out a grant, then he should compel the family to do so by citing them.
Onyango, you had what you need to do. Make your claim or cite the family and then make your claim. And if they can but don't pay you, you can compel them to refund any property they received until they pay you. And on that note, I would like to thank you, Akili, and thank you everyone for listening into this episode of Swala Nyeti.
Join us tomorrow where we will answer more of your legal questions.
Tomorrow's question comes from Angela, who asks, can I inherit from my dad if my mom was his mpango wa kando? Till next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
You have been listening to Swala Nyeti. Special thanks to our layman, Gashal Patrick, and our lawyer, Harry Karanja. If you have a legal question that you want answered, send us a WhatsApp message on 07 08 111 or email us at admin@swalanyeti.org. You can find downloads to all our podcast episodes on our website www.swalanyeti.org.